Ella, do you want to create your own slice of soft, fluffy, aromatic heaven this Greek Easter? Then fire up your oven and get ready to make the best tsoureki you've ever laid your taste buds on. This Greek Easter bread is bursting with irresistible flavors and it's so easy to make that you don't even need a mixer. So follow along with me and we'll make sure your tsoureki turns out beautiful, that your family absolutely loves it. And actually guys, to kick things off, we're gonna start by proofing our yeast. I'm gonna start off by adding in 150 grams of high protein bread flour. Follow that up with 2 tablespoons of sugar. And now it's time to bring in our star of the show, our dry active yeast. So that's it there. Basically what it was 2 of these packets here. I've just popped it into a bowl. And just so you know, that was about 14 grams. They're usually around 7 grams a packet. Last but not least, I've got 250 ml of warm water here just to get things activated. Now the key here is to mix all the ingredients well together. So the sugar, the flour, the water, together with the yeast is the perfect combination just to really wake this yeast up and get it moving, giving us the magic we need for our dough. Now I just want to show you the type of flour that I'm using when I refer to high protein or strong bread flour. I use this brand here, like what I got at my local store. If you use a high protein flour, you're gonna have a stronger gluten development. It's just gonna give a better texture, a quicker rise, and just more consistent results, which is perfect when we're making our tsoureki. I'm gonna set this bowl aside and let the yeast work its magic. So now in a separate large bowl, 1.5 kilos of our high protein bread flour. This is going to be the foundation of our dough that's gonna give the tsoureki that amazing texture that we're aiming for. And that's it. All right, so the next thing, we're gonna add inside 300 grams of sugar. So we'll just pour that inside. Now, my favorite ingredient for this recipe is our mastika. It's a traditional Greek spice which is gonna infuse its tsoureki with its one-of-a-kind aroma. And I've got 4 grams here of fine powder. And if you can get your hands on it, it's a must-try for an authentic taste of Greek Easter tradition. Next up, I've got 3 teaspoons of ground maklepi for its killer fragrance, and 1 teaspoon of ground cardamom for that subtle spice kick. Now we can't forget a pinch of salt. We've got 1 teaspoon here, which is gonna balance out the sweetness and enhance the flavors throughout the dough. And last but not least, I've got 2 oranges here, and we're slowly just gonna take off the skin and add this inside. This adds a bright and citrusy flavor that really helps the tsoureki pop. So that's done. I'm gonna pop this off to the side. I'm gonna squeeze that later on. Now that our dry ingredients are mixed together well, it's time to combine our wet ingredients into the same bowl. So here we've got 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, just for that extra depth of flavor, followed by 400 mils of room temperature milk. Now using milk with our dough makes it more rich, gives it more flavor, and makes it much more tender. Now I've got 4 whole eggs. I'm just gonna pop it into this bowl here so that I can whisk it all up nicely. And finally, I've got 250 grams of melted butter, and this is gonna help make it even more tender and moist. Trust me, it's worth every calorie there. It's Easter, it doesn't matter. All right, the yeast is looking good. It's alive and kicking. Time to put this in the bowl as well. Give everything a good mix together. Now, don't be scared to get your hands dirty. You wanna mix this very well, just ensuring all the ingredients are combined and incorporated properly. Now that we've got the dough at this stage here, I'm gonna remove the bowl, I'm gonna pop onto the bench, and we're gonna knead it further for another 10 minutes. Now this further kneading is going to really help develop the gluten further, which is going to ensure that we get that signature texture that we're looking for with the tsoureki. Now the consistency that you want is basically, it's a sticky dough, but it's not really sticking to my hands. Very soft, it feels really moist, and I'm going to say that's perfect. I didn't need to use anything else, but you may have to depending on your type of flour that you buy. All right, now that our dough is kneaded well, we're going to grab ourselves a fresh, new, clean bowl. Now I'm going to grab myself some olive oil, some Greek olive oil, just grease the bottom of the bowl. This way the dough doesn't stick, and grab it and pop it down inside. Now what I'm gonna do is just cover this with a bit of cling wrap to keep all the moisture in. And now we're gonna pop this into a warm location until it doubles in size. All right, our dough has risen beautifully. Going to open this up, and we're just gonna gently deflate it by giving it a light massage. As you can see, the olive oil helped it not stick to it, to the bowl. So we'll pop this down. So now what we're doing is we're just dividing this dough into 18 even sized balls. Mine's gonna be around 170 gram each ball. I'm working with a scale. I like them to be within a couple grams of each other. So I'm just finishing off my last ball here. This is the 18th one. And now I'm just gonna cover them with some plastic to avoid them drying out. And we want them to rise a little bit further, another 10 to 15 minutes. All right, guys, now it's time to shape our tsoureki into those beautiful braids. We're gonna be working with 3 dough balls at a time while I've got our other ones covered to ensure that they don't dry out. So I'm just gonna pop 2 to the side here, and we'll start with our first one, all right? Gently rolling it with one hand. Now I'm coming in with a second. And now once I'm at this kind of length, I'm gonna leave it there and start working on the other 2. As it relaxes itself, it will then allow us to roll it further because we want to get to about 40 centimeters in length. And now back to our first one, and we're gonna continue. And you'll see it's starting to stretch itself out much easier now. It is pretty much around 40 centimeters. Perfect. Now I'm gonna show you 2 different ways to braid this. So this way you want to point at the top with 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Then the side with the 2, you flip the outer braid over the top of the one next to it. Then again, the furthest braid on the side with 2 always comes to the middle by going over the one next to it. Now just continue this all the way to the bottom. Then you want to neatly tuck it underneath itself so it looks nice. Then go back to the top and just tighten it up a bit and make it look good as well. That's bloody beautiful, mate. So now we're gonna gently pick this up, be really careful, and I'm gonna pop this into one of our lined baking dishes that we've got beside me. All right, so now that that's done, we're gonna grab another 3 balls and we're gonna keep going. So with this method, you start in the middle, visualize a point, and for the first half, just imagine you're doing the same thing as before. Keep flipping the outer braid over the one next to it, and just continue until you get to the end. Then tuck it in and make it look good. Now for the second half, you're doing it in reverse now. Instead of bringing the braid over the top, you're going underneath the one next to it instead. So same thing, but underneath instead of over. Now like always, when you get to the end, just tuck it neatly. And there you go. So I'm gonna pop this into the baking dish. That's my last tsoureki. We're gonna keep it covered and we're gonna allow it to rise a little bit further. What we want is about a 50% increase, and then we'll be getting ready to pop it into the oven. And that's it. Now that the tsoureki are fully risen, it's now time for the last step of this recipe, just adding the finishing touches and baking these beauties to perfection. So we're gonna prepare our egg wash. In this bowl here, I'm gonna pop inside 1 egg. I'm gonna add in 1 tablespoon of milk. Now I'm just gonna whisk this all together. Now this egg wash, when we paint it on, is gonna give our tsoureki that nice wild golden color that we're looking for when they're baked. All right, beautiful. Now pop this to the side and we're gonna bring in our 2 different nut garnishes, sesame seeds, sliced almonds. So for these 3 here, I'm gonna start off with the sesame seeds. Now you can obviously add whatever you like. If you want, just keep them plain. But here, you can just get creative, just give your tsoureki that little bit of extra personality. So I've got obviously my 2 baking dishes with 3 tsoureki in each one. Now this method not only helps ensure more consistent baking as they're going to be much more equal as they rise and hug each other, it's just a killer form of presentation as well. Alright, so now these tsoureki are ready for the oven. It's preheated to 170 degrees Celsius and we're going to pop them inside there for around 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to keep our eyes on them and we want to take them out when they're golden brown. First thing, we're going to do our stavro over the tsoureki, help make sure these come out even better. Can you smell that? These tsoureki are cooked to absolute perfection. They look wild. They're literally kissing each other. They push into each other and they rise upwards. They're hitting the edge over here, right around. That's why they've hold such a great shape. Now what we're going to do is let these tsoureki sit for at least 20 minutes. We want each loaf to settle and cool right down. Now I just want to note that if you're planning to gift these to family and friends, I recommend once they've cooled down, just to wrap them in plastic or pop them into an airproof, tight sealed container, just so they maintain their freshness as long as possible. All right, now let's have a closer look. As you can see, it's perfectly puffed, maintaining its braids all the way down. Nice golden brown crust from the egg wash. Beautiful, mate. All right, now I'm gonna cut her up. Let's take a look at the inside. Opa, she's beautiful. Little bit of butter for Nico. All right, let's give this a taste. Guys, this tastes beautiful. It tastes like Easter. Now guys, I hope you found this video helpful. I had a good time making these. I hope you have a great Easter. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Yeah.